There's something happening inside you right now that you can't feel, can't see, and can't stop. It's been running since you were born. It recorded everything, every word someone said about you, every fear you felt but couldn't name, every moment you were told you weren't enough, every time you watched someone succeed and quietly told yourself that wasn't for you. And right now, in this exact moment, it's shaping your decisions, your relationships, your bank account, your body, your life. It's your subconscious mind. And the terrifying thing isn't that it exists. The terrifying thing is that most people will live their entire lives without ever understanding how it works, and without ever realizing that they've been handing it the wrong instructions for decades. Let me start with a confession. Years ago, I was working more than 12 hours a day, exhausted, studying obsessively, doing everything I was told you had to do to succeed. I had read over 200 books on self-development, philosophy, success, the law of attraction. I made affirmations every morning. I set goals. I visualized. And nothing moved. Nothing changed. I was desperate in a quiet, private way, the kind of desperation you don't show anyone because it's too embarrassing to admit after everything you've studied. One afternoon, I walked into a bookstore and came face to face with a book I'd read years before, in a completely different phase of my life. Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I picked it up, opened it to a random page, and read a single sentence that stopped everything. The dominant idea is always accepted by the subconscious. I read it again and again. And then I understood what I had been doing wrong for years. Here's how the mind works. And I need you to really see this, not just hear it. Imagine a massive ship at sea. On the bridge there's a captain. He can see everything. The horizon, the icebergs, the weather. He observes, he thinks, he decides. He gives orders. This is your conscious mind. But the captain doesn't run the engine. He doesn't move the ship. Below deck, in the engine room, there's a crew. They receive the orders. They don't question them. They don't look outside. They simply execute. This is your subconscious mind. Now, what happens if the captain is drunk? What if he's panicking? What if, in his fear and anxiety, he's giving orders that are driving the ship straight into the iceberg? The crew below doesn't know. They trust the captain. They execute. That's exactly what most people are doing. Every single day, you wake up in the morning and maybe for a moment you plant a good seed. You say an affirmation, you set an intention, but 5 minutes later, when the day begins, when the fear kicks in, when the doubt creeps through the door, the real dominant thought takes over. What if this doesn't work? What if I fail again? What if I lose everything? I can't afford to get this wrong. And that's the instruction your subconscious receives, not the affirmation, the dominant idea, the one that plays on repeat all day, loud and urgent and soaked in emotion. That's the order the crew executes. Here's something that will either disturb you or free you, depending on how willing you are to be honest with yourself. Your subconscious mind is the most loyal, efficient, tireless servant you have ever had. It never sleeps. It never doubts. It never rests. It simply executes the dominant instructions you give it with perfect, relentless accuracy. The problem is never the subconscious. The problem is the captain giving it the wrong orders and expecting a different destination. Murphy described the subconscious as the world's most obedient but also most literal interpreter. It doesn't understand negation. It doesn't understand context. It doesn't process the word not. When you spend your day repeating, I can't afford to lose this client, I can't afford to fail, I can't afford to get this wrong, what your subconscious absorbs is, lose the client, fail, get this wrong. It captures the image, not the logic, the image. This is why fear is so dangerous as a mental state. It's not a warning system, it's an instruction. Chronic fear is you programming your subconscious to build the exact reality you're afraid of. and then watching in horror as it arrives, wondering why the universe is working against you. The universe isn't working against you. Your captain is drunk. Let me show you the 3 programs that most people are running without realizing it, and that are quietly dismantling everything they're trying to build. The first one is envy, disguised as opinion. You scroll through your phone and see someone younger than you, with results that dwarf yours. And before you even notice, something inside you says, must be connections, must be lucky, must have cut corners. And you move on, feeling strangely righteous. Here's what Murphy says about that, and it's one of the most devastating truths I've ever absorbed. You lose what you condemn. When you criticize someone's wealth, you're not criticizing the person. You're creating in your subconscious an image of wealth as something corrupt, undeserved, dangerous. And your subconscious, loyal as always, will make sure you never build what you've branded as wrong. It won't argue with you. It will just execute. And it will keep you poor while you watch from the sidelines, convinced it was someone else's fault. The second, a program is excessive effort. You've been told your whole life to try harder, push more, give everything. And effort is real, it matters. But when it comes to the subconscious, there is a law that almost nobody talks about, and it will change how you work forever. The law of reversed effort. The harder you consciously force a result, the more you reinforce the signal that the result isn't here yet. You're announcing to your subconscious, this thing I want is absent. I am straining toward it, because I don't have it. And your subconscious, hearing that instruction, it confirms the absence. It executes the image of lack. Think about the last time you had a creative breakthrough. Were you forcing it at your desk? Or were you in the shower? Walking? Half asleep? You'd stopped pushing. And in that gap, the answer arrived. That's not coincidence. That's the subconscious working at full capacity the moment the conscious mind stops interfering. Replace excessive effort with focused dedication. Work with precision and presence, but release the desperate grip. Let the engine room do its job without the captain screaming down the intercom every 30 seconds. The third program is fear, and fear is the most insidious because it disguises itself as wisdom. Fear says, I'm just being realistic. Fear says, I'm just having a backup plan. Fear says, I don't want to get my hopes up. But what fear is actually doing is this. It's creating vivid, emotionally charged mental images of everything going wrong and feeding those images to your subconscious on a loop. And your subconscious, which operates not through logic but through the intensity and repetition of mental images, absorbs them as instructions. The more you fear something, the more you rehearse it. The more you rehearse it, the more your subconscious prepares the architecture for it to happen. Fear, when left unexamined and unchallenged, is a self-fulfilling prophecy written in your own handwriting. Now, I want to talk about a woman named Claire. Claire was brilliant. Everyone who worked with her knew it. She had ideas that moved rooms, instincts that turned out to be right, a presence that made people listen. But for years, every time she was on the verge of something, a promotion, a new project, a relationship that could have become something real, something would happen. She'd pull back. She'd second guess. She'd create a reason why the timing was wrong, why she wasn't ready, why it wouldn't work. From the outside, it looked like bad luck. From the inside, it felt like wisdom. But it wasn't wisdom. It was the dominant idea. Because somewhere, deep in the programming she didn't remember receiving, was a belief that success was dangerous, that being seen was risky, that wanting too much would end in pain, and her subconscious, loyal, obedient, precise, was protecting her from all of it by making sure she never arrived. She didn't need to work harder. She needed to change. The captain's orders. And here's how. Murphy offered a technique that seems almost absurdly simple. And that simplicity is exactly why most people dismiss it, which is exactly why most people never change. Every night, 15 minutes before sleep, put the phone down. Turn off the noise. Lie down. Let your body release tension from head to toe. And then, in that space between waking and sleeping, when the conscious mind begins to soften and the door to the subconscious opens, create a film. But not just any film. This film has 3 non-negotiable elements. First, it must be in first person. You are not watching yourself succeed. You are living it. You feel the ground beneath your feet. You see through your own eyes. You are inside the scene, not observing it from a distance. Second, it must have physical sensation. If it's financial, feel the weight of the wallet, the ease of a decision made without anxiety. If it's health, feel the energy moving through your body like electricity. If it's a relationship, feel the warmth, the presence, the safety of someone who truly sees you. The subconscious speaks in sensation, not in concepts. Third, and this is the fuel, it must carry emotion, genuine emotion, not performed emotion, the feeling of it already being real, gratitude, relief, joy, the specific texture of what it feels like to have already arrived. Because the subconscious cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you feel it fully, the brain produces the same neurochemical response. You are literally wiring the architecture of your reality while you fall asleep. And then, this is critical, you release it. You don't check. You don't obsess. You don't spend the next morning asking why it hasn't manifested yet. You place the order. You trust the process. You go live. This is not passivity. It's the difference between a farmer who plants seeds with care and then walks away to tend other things, versus someone who digs up the ground every morning to see if anything has sprouted yet. Let the subconscious do what it was built to do. There's one more thing Murphy said that I want to leave with you. One line, short enough to dismiss, deep enough to restructure everything if you actually hold it. Never finish a negative statement. The next time you're in a store and you see something you want and the thought arrives, I can't afford that. Stop. Reverse it. Say to yourself, that is mine. I accept it in my mind. My subconscious will find the way. This is not delusion. It's not magical thinking. It's understanding how the machine works and refusing to give it instructions that keep you small. Because every time you complete a negative statement, you place an order. Your subconscious, loyal as ever, takes it to the engine room and begins building the result you declared. Your outer world is a mirror. Everything outside, the money, the relationships, the health, the opportunities, is a reflection of what's been running inside. Trying to change the reflection by rearranging things in the external world is like trying to change your image in the mirror without changing yourself. You can't. The mirror only shows you what's already there. And here's what changes everything. When you understand this, truly understand it, not just as an interesting idea, but as the operating system of your life, you stop fighting your circumstances and start speaking differently to your own mind. You stop condemning what you want. You stop rehearsing what you fear. You stop finishing negative statements. You stop allowing the exhausted, anxious captain to drive the ship into the ice. You take the wheel. You give the crew new orders. And you stay consistent, not because results are guaranteed on a specific timeline, but because you've decided that the dominant idea in your life is going to be the one that serves you, the one that builds the life you actually want to live. Before you close this, I want you to sit with one question, just one. What is the dominant idea running in your mind right now? Not the affirmation you said this morning, not the goal you wrote in your journal. The real one, the one that shows up at 2 a.m., the one that whispers when you're on the edge of something, the one that's been there quietly for years, because that is the instruction your subconscious has been executing, and the moment you decide to change it, really decide, with full commitment and a new, dominant image, the captain sobers up, grabs the wheel, and the ship begins to turn. It always does.